a lot of sort of ifs and buts, a lot of feedback. Finally, we started, and today we are. And I must tell you one thing, that BJM so far has given me so much, and not only me. I mean, the entire Bharat Jain Mahamandal team. It has given us so much. We have new friends, we have new family members now. We have new learnings. There is so much going on, and I think it is that experience that makes this organization so special and so beautiful. Um, the energy level within the team. I mean, it is so good to see all these young people and young members in the Singapore team working so hard. I mean, I really appreciate their commitment. They may not be the best in Jainism. They may not be the guru, like the legends in Jainism, but they know what they're doing. Their intent is right. Their bhav is very, very genuine to do the right by Dr. Shobha and Shubhagya. Uh, Dr. Shobha, let me first, Ritika will talk more about you. She will do an official introduction about you. But as Rakesh ji was saying earlier, you come from a family. Your father-in-law has served our country. Your husband has served our country. Your son has done such a great job, and that Balakot strike. Wow! I mean, heads off to you. And your son-in-law is is an army. I mean, and you're mother of such brave souls. So I mean, dil se aapko, you are doing such a great service for the entire nation, for 1.3 billion people. We are truly, truly honored to have you on our program today. Samanji, I know you for more than a decade now, and your smile still inspires me. When you were part of Young Gens of India, I mean, I remember the young people will come for our workshops and our programs, and I mean, the events that we will do in Delhi, Jaipur, Mumbai, Indore, and they will come to see you. They'll come to hear you. So you bring energy in them, and I think we would love you to bring the same energy level in Bharat Jain Mahamandal also, with your insights, with your knowledge, and obviously with your humor. So once again, welcome all. Thank you for attending this program. And I'll now ask Sanjay Bhai to say a few words. Sanjay Bhai, please.
Thank you, Manish Bhai, for those kind comments and great introduction of the program. So first of all, very warm welcome and Jai Janendra to our distinguished guests, brothers and sisters, and everybody who is on the program. I'm very glad Swamiji, Samanji, Shruti has joined from Chicago. Dr. Shobha, whom we know as a family now because of the
supporting like anything 24/7, and they are available for any work for youth. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Jai Janendra, and a warm welcome to everybody who's joined today. As we go into today's program, it's a complete honor and delight for me to be able to introduce our illustrious speakers. We've of course heard, different things about them from the Bharat Jain Mahamandal team, both in Singapore and India, and heard wonderful things about Dr. Shobha as to how she's a wonderful mother and wife. But in her own right, she is such an inspiring person that I would like to take a few minutes to just talk about her. So Dr. Shobha is an accomplished doctor who has many accolades to her credit. In particular, her service in humanitarian missions across the world, from Yemen to Liberia. But I think what really stands out about her is that she is somebody for her age and time who has been a social commentator, an activist, a woman thinker, and in that sense inspired people around the world. What is most fascinating about her journey, and what also brings her to the Bharat Jain Mahamandal platform, for those of us who are not aware, is that she grew up in the backdrop of a rich legacy of Jain culture in Tamil Nadu. And in more recent times, she has taken to studying the religion through pursuit of MA in Jainology in Chennai and also a Parmagam honors course in Jaipur. My recent conversations with her also taught me that she's an ardent follower of Dr. Sanjeev Ji Goda, who is again very well known in the Jain community, particularly here in Singapore. But keeping all of that aside, I think what I would like to share is that, in the recent past, I've had the good fortune of interacting with her at closer quarters. And what strikes me most about Dr. Shobha is that despite the fact that, she's had 7 decades, people in the family joining the Indian Air Forces, she continues to remain an ocean of calm, and she radiates so much positivity. So that is something that we hope to learn more about as we go through the program today. Of course, for the uninitiated here, we heard about the Balakot strike. Air Force officer Abhinandan Vartaman is a name that is known to basically every Indian. And we'll delve a little bit deeper into that aspect as we go into the fireside chat, speak to Dr. Shobha, but something that we are all very proud about. So thank you so much, Dr. Shobha, for joining us. Honor and pleasure to have you here. Next, I would like to introduce Swami Shudpragyaji. Thank you so much for joining us, Shudpragyaji. Again, he is somebody who does not need an introduction, to be honest, in the Singapore community, because he has been part of so many different events, through different organizations. But it's an honor that he's with us here today. And Swami Shudpragyaji is really known as somebody who is one of the most articulate and charismatic leaders and spiritual leaders of this generation, specifically also known for being able to convert some very dry topics into, in a very enjoyable style to, take it to the youth. So when we discuss the idea of power of mind, probably we could not have come up with a better speaker than Swami Shudpragyaji, who has, of course, traveled the world from USA to Australia, integrating the teachings of ancient scriptures with also modern science, and also known for his, foundations that he has established both in the US as well as Gujarat, through the Peace of Mind initiative. So thank you, everybody. Pleasure to have you here. I would now like to invite Muskan to lead the fireside chat with our speakers.
Thank you, Ritika Didi. Once again, Jai Jinendra, and a warm welcome to all our guest speakers and the audience as well. Myself, Muskan, and Shweta Didi will be the moderators for today's session. To our audience, we will try our best to answer any questions from the chat during the course of the session, if time permits. And any remaining questions will be answered at the end of the event. But before we begin this fireside chat, Shweta Didi will give a short introduction for our topic for the day, followed by the questions for our speakers. So Shweta Didi, on to you.
Yeah, thank you, Muskan. So in my point of view, as a Jains, we all have grown up listening and learning about the Jainism 12 facet, that is Vara Bhavna. In Jain religions, we put a significant emphasis on the thought of process of the human being, based on which our karma get built. That's why our feeling should be like, rahe bhavna aisi meri, saral satya व्यवहार करूं, बने जहां तक इस जीवन में औरों का उपकार करूं. As this concept of bhavna ingrained us over the period of time, they determine the value we hold and what is the power of our mind. However, as a human, we all regularly face the feeling of complexity, ambiguity, uncertainty in our daily lives, whether it's our office, at our workplace, or in any social gatherings. We are struggling and still learning how to strike a balance between the current planning and the current situations we face, and how to hold the religious values at the same time. Anyone ranging from organization leaders to a soldiers navigate through uncertainties of the life, rely on their values and the attitude they hold. But before we can understand what exactly the power of mind is, I would like to hear from our both guest speakers. So why don't we start with ladies first? Dr. Shobhaji, my questions to you. How would you define the power of mind?
Thank you, Shweta. First and foremost, Vandami Samanji, and I'd like to thank the BJM for giving me this platform. It's a privilege and honor, Mr. Mehta and Mr. Sanjay Lodha and Mr. Kasliwal. And I also thank Ritika for facilitating this, meeting together. In spite of the time differences, she was at it, and quite an energetic and enthusiastic young girl. Thank you very much, Ritika. When you ask define the power of mind, it sounds very academic and very theoretical. I for one, I'm studying MA Jainology, I'm sort of dipped into the ocean of many theories and soul and Atma and Karma and Bhavnas, which I'm discovering day by day. But I normally try and simplify it in my mind because I'd like to break them into simple things. And for me, what I understood by power of mind is what I understood from many people's lives. When we take up a book, a novel, what are we looking for? We are looking for ideas and tips from somebody's life. You don't want to fall and learn your own mistakes, so you try to take tips from others. And that's what we do with studying Tirthankar's books also, like the Mahapurana or their life stories, because we are looking for tips from them, how to live our lives. Why do we look for these tips? Because we want to develop our power to live, our power to exist, our power to conquer things, our power to overcome problems. And this is the power that we want. And where do we think it's all? It's probably is in our mind. That's what we think, actually. Well, Jainism says you are different and the mind is different, but that's for the deeper scholars to make out. Probably Samanji will talk about it. But the thing is, for me, the power of mind, from what I understood, I grew up with Vivekananda, Swami Vivekananda, and I devoured his lectures. From all of it, I found that basically power of mind is practicing life with discipline. And this discipline includes everything, whether it is discipline in your food habits or discipline in talking softly, talking sweet, gently, politely, or talking the right things, or even thinking the right things. It needs a certain discipline. And or even hurting others. Like my father used to say, if you can't do good to others, at least don't do harm to others. Like, with these kind of things, when we grow up, it's very difficult not to harm others. It's the easiest thing to do is to hurt somebody with a word, or with, even brushing off ant is a harmful thing, but it needs discipline to hold you back, actually. So this discipline requires a lot of hard work. And when I was young, I read a poem said that if you're born on Sunday, you're a child full of joy and things like that. So I asked my mother, when was I born? She said Saturday. And I looked up that it said the Saturday's child works for a living. I guess since then it had got into my head. I'm working so hard. I'm so, everything is, I have to do these things because I'm born on a Saturday. But then you got to apply yourself, and you got to work hard to get that power. That Shakti comes only when you work hard. When you let the mind wander and take things easy, I'm not saying that you shouldn't rest. one should rest. Rest is also a very important discipline, actually. In fact, as I grow older and I don't get enough sleep, I know how difficult it is. I have to work harder to sleep. If I say that, people will be so surprised, actually. But then this is the power of mind. For me, the power of mind is disciplining thoughts, mind, and your body, and everything that you do with it, the activities, and that's hard work. And I, recently I've been reading Acharang Sutra, where Lord Mahavira also says, be vigilant, be vigilant. What he means by vigilant is be disciplined. And this discipline pays. Whether you're disciplined in doing your riyas to sing, when somebody wants to sing, they say it's a musical genius. But people perhaps have that attitude to sing, they perhaps have a good voice, but unless you train it, unless you work on it, you cannot be a good musician. So that is the discipline that you require even for a genius. If we tend to eat whatever we want, chaat, tiki, all the badam, this thing, we become obese. You have to work hard to keep eating that rasgulla all your life. Otherwise, you lose the pleasure of eating that rasgulla. So that is what is power of mind for me. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Shobhaji, for giving us such a pragmatic understanding of the power of mind. As per science as well as Jainism, we say that all ideas are first generated in our minds before they're translated into actions. So, Samanji, this next question is for you. What does Jainism say about harnessing the power of mind?
Okay. Thank you, everyone. And thank you especially Sobhaben. She joined today with this conference. And I also, congratulate Rakesh ji that he chose the right person for Singapore Bharat Jan Mahamandal, Manish ji, because he is a very dynamic personality to organize this kind of activity and spread the message of Jainism through any platform. So thank you. The question है हार्नेसिंग के बारे में, तो जैनिज्म का व्यू क्या है और पावर ऑफ माइंड के बेस पर हम उसको कैसे देख सकते हैं. तो पहली बात तो ये है कि पावर ऑफ माइंड क्या है, हम उसको जरा 2 मिनट में मैं मेरी ओर से डिफाइन करूं. तो जैसे अभी शोभा जी ने कहा कि हम डिसिप्लिन क्रिएट करें, हम बॉडी माइंड और अपने इमोशन को एक डिसिप्लिन वे में रखें, तो हम अपने माइंड पावर को डेवलप कर सकते हैं. मुझे ऐसा लगता है कि माइंड पावर हमारे माइंड में 3 लेवल है, कॉन्शियस माइंड, सबकॉन्शियस माइंड, अनकॉन्शियस माइंड. तो जो हमारा सबकॉन्शियस माइंड है, वो सबकॉन्शियस माइंड हमारे पावर ऑफ माइंड के लिए रिस्पॉन्सिबल है. और सबकॉन्शियस माइंड में हम जो भी सोचते हैं वो सब रियलिटी में एक दिन बाहर मैनिफेस्ट होता है. तो हम क्या सोचते हैं वो हमारी एक्शन में कभी न कभी आता है. खास करके रात को सोते समय हम कभी भी अपने माइंड को नेगेटिव कमांड ना दें, नेगेटिव ऑर्डर ना दें, क्योंकि रात को सोते समय कॉन्शियस माइंड रिलैक्स होता है, सबकॉन्शियस माइंड एक्टिव होता है. रात को सोते समय जो हम थॉट भेजते हैं सबकॉन्शियस माइंड को, वो धीरे धीरे रियलिटी में कन्वर्ट होता है. तो रात को सोते समय कभी भी हम दिमाग को नेगेटिव ऑर्डर ना दें. अधिकतर लोग सोते समय ही सब कुछ ऑर्डर देते हैं और इसीलिए फिर धीरे धीरे वो हमारी परिस्थितियां बनती है, सिचुएशन बनती है. दूसरा, सुबह उठते समय हम जब अपने दिन की शुरुआत करें तब माइंड को नेगेटिव ऑर्डर ना दे दे, इसका ध्यान रखें. तीसरी बात, पॉजिटिव ऑर्डर दे, पॉजिटिव कमांड दे रात को सोते समय, सुबह उठते समय. और जब हम मेडिटेशन में बैठते हैं उस समय भी हमारा सबकॉन्शियस माइंड एक्टिव होता है, उस समय भी हम पॉजिटिव ऑर्डर दे माइंड को, तो बहुत फर्क पड़ता है। पहली चीज। दूसरी चीज मैं ये कहना चाहता हूं कि हमारी बॉडी में करीब करीब 70% वाटर है। और अभी जापान में और बहुत जगह ऐसा रिसर्च हुआ है कि हमारे माइंड के थॉट्स का हमारे बॉडी के 70% वाटर पर इफेक्ट होता है। अगर हम नेगेटिव सोचते हैं तो 70% वाटर केमिकली नेगेटिवली कन्वर्ट होते हैं, और अगर हम पॉजिटिव सोचते हैं तो हमारे शरीर में रहा हुआ 70% वाटर तत्व पॉजिटिवली केमिकली चेंज हो जाता है, और उसकी असर पूरी बॉडी पर, पूरे माइंड पर होती है। अभी राजकोट में अभी एक घटना बनी इस कोरोना की सिचुएशन में। दो व्यक्ति थे, दोनों की एज करीब करीब 70 थी। एक की कोरोना में उनके दोनों फेफड़े करीब 70% फेल हो गए थे, हॉस्पिटल में थे, वेंटिलेटर पर थे, आर्टिफिशियल सपोर्ट पर थे, और डॉक्टर भी हताश हो गए थे, निराश हो गए थे क्या होगा। और मैं हॉस्पिटल में गया, उसको फिर कोरोना नेगेटिव आ गया था। उसके बाद मैं हॉस्पिटल गया, मैंने उसको मांगलिक सुनाया और कुछ जैसे कपूर वगैरह जो नेचुरोपैथी और आयुर्वेद की टिप्स थी मैंने की। तो और इतने वो पॉजिटिव थे, माइंड को मैंने देखा, और उसका रिजल्ट ये हुआ कि 70% डैमेज जो फेफड़े थे वो 30% में कन्वर्ट हो गए, हील हो गए। दूसरे व्यक्ति को मैंने देखा, उसके फेफड़े ओनली 30% डैमेज थे, वो भी हॉस्पिटल में थे, लेकिन दिन भर हॉस्पिटल में स्क्रीन देखते रहते थे, अपना ग्राफ देखते रहते थे कि कितना मेरे लंग्स डैमेज होते जा रहे हैं, इतना नेगेटिव सोचते थे। 30% डैमेज थे, उसकी जगह 70% डैमेज हो गए। कारण मात्र एक था कि 70% जो जिसके लंग्स डैमेज थे पॉजिटिव सोचते थे तो वो हील होकर 30% में आ गए। जो नेगेटिव सोचते थे 30% डैमेज थे, वो 70% डैमेज हो गए। वो अभी की घटना है, पिछले 1 महीने की। तो हमारे माइंड के सोच की हमारी बॉडी पर असर होती है थ्रू जल तत्व, थ्रू वाटर एलिमेंट्स, और उसके कारण पूरी बॉडी पर असर होती है। तो ये हमारा पावर ऑफ माइंड है। हार्नेसिंग का जो क्वेश्चन है, जैन धर्म कहता है कि अहिंसा परमो धर्म। जैन धर्म अहिंसा को मानता है, नॉन वायलेंस को मानता है, कंपैशन को मानता है, रेवरेंस फॉर लिविंग को मानता है, हम एक दूसरे को रिस्पेक्ट करें। और जैन धर्म कहता है कि मैं जो भी कुछ करता हूं उसका कर्म मेरे साथ, मेरी सोल के साथ अटैच होता है, एंड आई हैव टू सफर फॉर दैट कॉन्सिक्वेंसेस। तो जैन धर्म हार्नेसिंग के बारे में ये कहता है कि फन के लिए, मनोरंजन के लिए, खुशी के लिए हम किसी भी पशु का मिसयूज ना करें, किसी भी एनिमल का मिसयूज ना करें, चाहे हॉर्स हो, चाहे डोंकी हो, चाहे मंकी हो। हम आजकल जानवरों पर इतनी क्रूअलिटी करते हैं, और केवल अपने फन के लिए, केवल अपनी खुशी के लिए। तो जैन धर्म उसको अलाउ नहीं करता है। बिजनेस के लिए कभी कभी हम हार्नेसिंग बिजनेस को यूज करना पड़ता है, धंधे के लिए हम कभी करते हैं। तो जैन धर्म कहता है कि आप एनिमल के प्रति रिस्पेक्ट रखें, एनिमल को एक फैमिली मेंबर की तरह ट्रीट करें, और उसके प्रति कंपैशन का भाव रखें, उसकी टेक केयर बराबर करें। तो फिर अगर आप बिजनेस के लिए, अगर आप अपनी लाइफ को सर्वाइव करने के लिए करते हैं तो उसमें कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं है। लेकिन अधिकतर हम उस पर, जैसे हम जैन धर्म कहता है कि घोड़े पर बैठे नहीं, हाथी पर बैठे नहीं, जैसे जैसलमेर जाते हैं राजस्थान में लोग ऊंट की सवारी करते हैं और मजा लेते हैं, उस पर बैठते हैं। तो जैनिज्म उसको अतिचार कहता है। वंदिती सूत्र में कहते हैं कि ये वायलेंस है और ये उसका पाप लगता है, और उसको हमें रिपेंटिंग करना पड़ता है, उसका गुरुदेव के पास जाकर प्रतिक्रमण करके उसको शुद्ध करना पड़ता है। तो जानवरों को अपनी सेल्फिश रीजन के लिए हम मिसयूज ना करें, उसको रिस्पेक्टफुली यूज करें, क्योंकि वो भी एक जीव है, उसको भी जीने का अधिकार है। और आज जिस तरह से ये रिसर्च के लिए और सब के लिए जानवरों को जिस तरह से यूज किया जाता है, मिसयूज किया जाता है एक्चुअली, वो बहुत जैनिज्म उसके लिए अगेंस्ट है। तो रिस्पेक्टफुली हम एनिमल के साथ ट्रीट करें, उसके साथ बिहेव करें, क्रुअलिटी ना लाए, कंपैशन के साथ ट्रीट करें। ये जैन धर्म का व्यू है हार्नेसिंग के बारे में।
थैंक यू सुमन जी, आपने जैन धर्म को बहुत अच्छे से और पावर ऑफ माइंड को बहुत अच्छे से समझाया. You mentioned about the thoughts, how it impact our mind and the body. So in Jainism, we also say कि भावों की प्रधानता होती है. So I have a very interesting question here, since we have a Singapore National Service guys here. There are many situations that can motivate a person to go in army. With the feeling of serving the country, or with the out of compulsion, or maybe with the feeling of bloodlust or revenge. In such scenarios, how much will be the intensity of our karma based on our bhav, that is our thoughts, and how we can limit it?
पहले तो हम ये समझ लें कि there are 4 type of violence in Jain Dharma. We should understand that, because basic fundamental thing, if you don't understand, then a lot of confusion arises. So number 1 is the arambhaja hinsa. Is a technical word. I think so many people knows about it. So I will express positively. So because he's studying about Jainism. So arambhaja hinsa. Because I explained these things, because Jainism is so practical, so beautiful religion, so flexible religion. It's not orthodox at all. So Jainism say arambhaja hinsa. Arambhaja hinsa means for my survival, for my living, I need to do some violence. Every morning to night, for survival of our body, we need to do lot of type of violence. If we eat the food, it's violence. If we take the breath, it's violence. We cannot live our life in this body without violence at all. So for survival of our existence, we do the violence. That's called arambhaja hinsa, and we cannot avoid it at all. Number 2, udyogja hinsa. Udyogja hinsa means for our business, for our financial, sound system, we need to do some violence. For business, we need to do some violence. So that is the udyogja hinsa. That's also allowed to do for the Sravak, for the lay people, to do the violence, because otherwise they can't survive. They cannot take care for their family also. So number 2. Number 3 is virodhaja hinsa. Virodhaja hinsa means protecting violence. We have to protect ourselves, like Abhinandan, did the strike in the Pakistan. So what is this? So that is the virodhaja violence, virodhaja hinsa. We have to protect our country. If somebody attacks me, I have to protect myself. So it's a virodhaja hinsa, and we need to do that for survive our life, our existence, our country, our nation. But the 4th one is very difficult. The question is bhav. How we can keep the bhav while we're doing the violence. So that's the number 4. It's called sankalpaja hinsa. Sankalpaja hinsa means intentionally, we have a bad intention before we do the violence. That hinsa, that violence is totally prohibited as a Jain person. So sankalpaja hinsa नहीं करनी चाहिए, जिसमें रिवेंज लेना, जिसमें क्रुअलिटी हो, जिसमें बदला लेने की भावना हो, जिसमें इतनी क्रुअलिटी हो कि मेंटली बैठे कुछ करते नहीं है, फिर भी टीवी में ऐसे प्रोग्राम देखते हैं और मन में ऐसा सोचते हैं इतना बुरा किया है कि इसको फांसी लगा देनी चाहिए. ऐसा सोच के भी मैंने टीवी पर बैठे बैठे मैंने वायलेंस कर दिया. ये संकल्प जो हिंसा है, ये एक बैड इंटेंशन से हम जो हिंसा करते हैं. तो जैन धर्म कहता है कि हिंसा करनी पड़े अपने प्रोटेक्ट करने के लिए, तो भी हम अपने भाव को क्लीन रखें. भाव को क्लीन रखने का मतलब है क्रुअलिटी न लाए. भाव को क्लीन रखने का मतलब है रिवेंज की भावना न लाए. भाव को क्लीन रखने का मतलब है कि बदले की भावना न हो. हमारे जैन शास्त्रों में बहुत सारे किंग युद्ध करते थे. जैन धर्म अगर आप पढ़े तो कितने राजाओं ने वॉर किया, युद्ध किया, लेकिन आप सुनकर आश्चर्य करोगे कि वो वॉर के भी रूल्स थे. तो जैसे दिन भर युद्ध करते थे, शाम को सनसेट हो जाता था, उसके बाद युद्ध फिनिश हो जाता था, और रात को वही लोग वॉर करने वाले, दोनों विरोधी वॉर करने वाले बैठकर प्रतिक्रमण करते थे और अपने पाप का आलोचना करते थे. तो एक रिस्पेक्टफुली अपने नेशन के लिए हिंसा करनी पड़े। जैन धर्म कहता है कि 10 प्रकार का धर्म है, आत्मा का धर्म तो लास्ट में है, नेशन का धर्म भी एक धर्म है। हम अपने नेशन की रक्षा के लिए, अगर हमें अपनी कंट्री को प्रोटेक्ट करना है तो वायलेंस को करना वो अनिवार्य है। और यहां तक एक जैन साधु मुझे कहते थे कि नेशन की रक्षा के लिए जहां प्रोटेक्ट करना है कंट्री को, वहां पर अगर हम वॉर नहीं करते हैं तो वो भी पाप है। कितनी बड़ी बात है कि वहां पर अपनी नेशन की रक्षा के लिए आप चुप बैठे हैं और आप अपना धर्म नहीं बजाते हैं नेशन का, तो आप वायलेंट है, आप पाप करते हैं। तो बहुत विवेक के साथ में हम इसको यूज करना चाहिए। और नेशन की रक्षा के लिए अगर देश के लिए लड़ना है तो एक कंपेशन की, हाँ, एक ध्यान रखे कि इनोसेंट व्यक्ति कहीं मरे नहीं, इनोसेंट व्यक्ति की कहीं हत्या ना हो। एक और हिंसा भी करनी पड़े, गन भी चलानी पड़े, तो हम अपने देश के प्रोटेक्शन के लिए, अपने परिवार के प्रोटेक्शन के लिए, अपने अपने लोगों के प्रोटेक्शन के लिए शुद्ध भाव से हम करें, उसके प्रति भी, उसकी आत्मा के प्रति भी रिस्पेक्ट रख करें। तो मुझे लगता है कि जैन धर्म बहुत प्रैक्टिकल है और जैन धर्म का नॉन वायलेंस एक राष्ट्र धर्म की रक्षा के लिए अगर हथियार उठाना पड़े तो उसको अलाउ करता है, लेकिन राग द्वेष कम से कम रखकर हम ये एक्शन लें।
Thank you, Samanji. You explained this concept in such a simple and easy way to understand. Clearly, bhav is the name of the game here. Our next question is for Dr. Shobha, and Ritika Didi will ask the question. So if she can be spotlighted.
Dr. Shobha, we started this program talking so much about, your son, Abhinandan Vartaman. And I think one of the things that I'm sure everybody is keen to understand, given the subject of today's session, which is, how do we navigate uncertain situations or adverse situations using the power of the mind? I would just like to lend some context to this before I ask this question to you. I'm sure most of us here know about this, this story, which is such an important part of your life. But Dr. Shobha's son, Abhinandan Vartaman, who is, a celebrated Indian Air Force officer, was taken captive by the Pakistani army, during the Balakot airstrike. And some of the videos at that time went viral, where you could see that, he was put through some torturous situations where the enemy was trying to get him to divulge, information about the country. But we saw that he did not, despite the media pressure, despite, those really difficult circumstances, he did not, divulge information. He stood his ground. At that time, there was a nation of 1.3 billion people, including, so many people around the world who were praying so hard for him to come back home. And, he did, of course, come back home, victorious. And then he was awarded the Veer Chakra after that, which is such a proud moment for all of us as Indians. But because you are amongst us, this is such a this is such an exemplary real life situation of facing an adverse situation and using the power of mind to navigate it. Could you please share your journey through this, how you tackled the situation, the values you've ingrained in your children for them to be able to do what they did in service to the nation?
Thank you, Ritika. Yes, it was a very difficult phase that we went through, and you wouldn't believe it. We got to know about Abhinandan's visit to the neighboring country through a friend of ours who saw it on the television in Kuwait. And he rang up and he said, Abhinandan is alive. So we said, why? What happened? I mean, we didn't know that. And he says, I'm seeing it. He's standing there and he's alive. Then we realized that he has, but then, he was in Srinagar and we are in Chennai. But somehow or other, the world woke up so fast, thanks to the videos that has been put out by the natives of the country, and they thought they were doing a great thing by doing it, but they benefited the world, they benefited everybody, and most of all, they benefited Abhinandan. because his story became open and nobody can refute it, and quietly secrete him away into a prison, I think. But what it gave us is, in a country that was debating to stand up for a national anthem and give respect to the national anthem. And just about 3 weeks before that, there were tremendous TV debates as to why we should stand up for a national anthem. In a country which was going through that phase, I think this particular incident single-handedly brought the country together, 1.3 billion people, and gave them a sense of belonging to a nation. And I am really thankful to all the gods in heaven for giving this opportunity to our country to realize our own, bhavna as it is. Like, we forgot it for a while, but it brought to us that cohesiveness, and as one people, not only of Indian origin, all over the world, they saw how this single individual could stand up in the face of adversity. He probably knew that he may not even live the next day. He probably knew that he may not even come back, like many of his predecessors who are probably still in the prisons or who have died in the prisons. But still, it did not break him, and I think this is what I was talking earlier, that this is probably the today, since I'm learning Jainology, I can understand, and I think it is this, that all the karmas that he did in his past lives have become accumulated to give him the strength to stand. And what it tells me is, don't stop accumulating it. It may not help you in this life, but it's going to help you in consequent lives. And everybody talks about the parents, but I feel we have, except for giving him an environment to grow, it was his karma which has cost him this, whatever the strength that he got. And the other thing that I'm really happy about the whole incident is that it gave a direction to the youth. Like, after his incident, many children, youngsters rang me up and says, some call me auntie, some call me granny, some call me ma'am, irrespective. So I guess you can imagine the age group that contacted. They said that I'm too old to join the army, but I want to do something for my country. And some said that, I don't want to join this military, but I want to be like Abhibhaiya. It gave some kind of a direction to people. It's like reading a biography, like when you read Jhansi Rani, you feel that that urja going through your veins, actually. And when you read about great people, you feel that, hey, they have achieved it, and I want to achieve like that. Like our Tirthankaras, that's what they say. They have done it. It's not an impossible thing. They were all human beings. They've done it. They've done it patiently. So the chances of us doing is also possible. And this is what, in a simple way, in a common layman term, that Abhi's incident gave to the youth of this country. And I'm really proud that it happened in my family. And this kind of thing, I know it is a very petty, small way of thinking, and not a very broad way of thinking. But when we meet people and they say, oh, we thought he was like, we tell them, he's not our son anymore. He's your son. He's the son of this country. It also gave me another bhavna that, like our Prime Minister keeps saying, Vasudeva Kudumpakam. And I think this is what it is. And these kind of incidences, these kind of behavior sort of broadens the mind beyond smaller horizons, And you did ask me, how did we go through it? The first day, people started coming home and we had to, restrict. And thankfully, the government, everybody restricted. But then many people said we'd like to help. But we believed in the government, and we said that he's a soldier and he'll be looked after, and whatever the government does, we'll accept it. But then I was telling one of my friends that she said, how are you doing? In this on a personal note. And I said, I don't know, because there's so many people coming home. I don't even have time to pray to God. And, the prayer could be to release him or for me to de-stress. She says, why are you praying? The whole world is praying for him. 1.3 billion people are praying for him. That day, I stopped praying. I said, this thing doesn't happen to everybody. And if it has happened to me, I'm really blessed. And there is something in Thiruvalluvar has written two lines, and they claim Thiruvalluvar was a Jain actually. He says, the mother feels proud when more when she hears that the son has achieved than when she delivered him with all, delivery is a very painful affair actually. But at the end of it, the pain was worth it because she's got a live, healthy baby. But then the mother feels more happy when she hears that the child has achieved something in life good for the society. And it also says about the father that the son who has made his father's name, like this guy is this person's son, if the society says that the father has arrived. And these two Tirukurals were so apt for us at that time. And it was a mixture of pride, gratitude, gratitude to the nation, gratitude to the heavenly bodies, gratitude to our karma, gratitude to everything. And, it humbled us so much. And ultimately, what we are left now with is the humble thankfulness for whatever has happened in our lives.
Glad to hear, Sobaji, the real life experience from your own words. We also have a national service guys here in our platform. So we would like to hear their experience as well in their field, what challenges they are facing. So Divya and Pranay, would you like to share some challenging experience from your time in NS?
I'm not sure if Pranay would like to start first.
Yeah. Jai Jinendra, everyone. Thank you for having me. My name is Pranay. I served national service from 2016 to 2018. And this is something that all Singaporean boys have to do when they turn 18. It's mandatory. We don't really have a choice. So one of the challenging things I faced was my duty. I was a military policeman, and I was posted to the army prison, which looks after people who break military law. And these people really don't want to be there. And I honestly didn't want to be there as well. So looking after them was challenging. And another thing that I found difficult was keeping to the routine. Since the army prison had to operate 24/7, it was on a shift system. So there were no weekends at all for me. And my day would start as early as 5 a.m. sometimes, and it would end as late as 11. So that was hard to adapt. But one thing I took away from this was just persevering and not giving up, because the more I did it, the more I got used to it, and the more routine it felt to me.
Thanks, Pranay. And for myself, I just enlisted in January, and I'm currently training in the Specialist Cadet School as an infantryman. So I still have, I still have a long, long way to go to complete my national service journey. But I think the two key challenges that I faced, one of them is, as Pranay said, that this national service is mandatory, and therefore most people that end up in national service, they don't really want to be there when they first join. So the challenge was, how do you find meaning when you're doing something that you may not necessarily want to do? And I think one of the ways that I could do that was by seeing how this national service can impact me and help me to progress much more as an individual, but more so actually as a team of people, and how we can form friendships and bonds that can last well beyond 2 years. And I feel the second challenge I had was, you're out maybe 5 days in a week, you're in camp the whole time. You're not really doing something that may mean a lot to you after 2 years. So how do you use your time outside of camp? How are you able to do something that you enjoy, or something that you know will impact you in other ways besides, physical fitness? So one of the things that I can share is that one of my section mates, he is currently studying for his A-level exams while also staying in camp full time, 5 days a week. And we often see him studying way past our lights out timing. He brought his notes outfield to study when the rest of us were sleeping and relaxing after a long day of work in the jungle. He would be studying his notes. And that kind of dedication is essentially what needs to be there in order to utilize your own time wisely. And that's a challenge that I'm trying to adapt to in NS as well, and a spirit that I want to bring forward in myself as well.
Thank you, Divya and Pranay, for sharing your experiences. I think, as Dr. Shobhaji mentioned earlier, this is all about building discipline, and this is a great way of doing that. As a follow-up, we have a question to both Samanji and Shobhaji. If you could very quickly, in a minute, give your perspective on a general framework or an approach that people can follow to find stability in such ambiguous situations, when you're making a decision where you may not be familiar with your circumstances. How do you make a decision with conviction, and where you're sure of your values at the same time?
Yeah. Sabha, you want to say?
No, Samanji, aapke paas.
Okay. या तो एम्बिग्यूस सिचुएशन जब लाइफ में आती है, स्पेशली जब लोग आर्मी में जाते हैं या लाइफ में कहीं भी जब इस तरह की द्विधाजनक स्थिति आती है, एम्बिग्यूस स्थिति आती है, तो उस समय कैसे डिसीजन लेना चाहिए? पहली बात तो ये स्पष्ट होनी चाहिए कि हमारा रूट्स क्या है, हमारे संस्कार क्या है, हमारी ओरिजिनल वैल्यूज क्या है, जो हमको माँ बाप ने, हमारे रिलीजन ने हमको सिखाया है। यदि मेरे रूट्स, मेरे संस्कार और मेरी बिलीफ सिस्टम में मेरा फेथ है, अगर मैं मानता हूं कि आई एम द महावीर स्वामी शिष्य, आई एम द जैन, and non-violence is my root, compassion is my root, peace and harmony is my root. अगर ये इसके प्रति हमारा फेथ है और इसके प्रति साइंटिफिकली हमारा माइंड क्लीन है, तो लाइफ में कोई भी डिसीजन लेने में कोई भी प्रॉब्लम नहीं आता है। डिसीजन लेने में जब एम्बिग्यूस सिचुएशन आती है, तब डिसीजन लेने में तब प्रॉब्लम आती है कि हमारे रूट के प्रति हमारा फेथ नहीं है, हमारी वैल्यूज के प्रति हमारा फेथ नहीं है। जैसे शोभा बहन ने शुरुआत में ही कहा कि ये हमारा मुझे मुझे नेशन के प्रति फेथ था, मुझे मेरे 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 बेटे के प्रति फेथ था, मुझे मेरे धर्म के प्रति फेथ था। तो फेथ शब्द यूज किया उन्होंने। तो ये फेथ अगर है कि मेरा धर्म मुझे क्या सिखाता है, मेरे परिवार ने मुझे क्या सिखाया, मेरी वैल्यूज क्या है, अगर आदमी अपनी वैल्यूज को अपने सामने रखे और वैल्यूज को सामने रख के कोई भी डिसीजन लेगा, उसका डिसीजन कभी रॉन्ग नहीं होगा। और वैल्यूज के प्रति फेथ नहीं है, वैल्यूज के प्रति आप डिटरमिन नहीं है, तो आप सिचुएशन के बेस पर आपका डिसीजन बदलता जाएगा। जैसे हवा का झोंका जिधर जाएगा, आपका डिसीजन वैसा बदलता जाएगा। तो मैं ये कहना चाहता हूँ, जो लोग भी नेशनल सर्विस में जाते हैं या कभी भी ऐसी लाइफ में सिचुएशन आती है जब डिसीजन लेना पड़ता है, उस समय हम पास्ट में जाए, अपने पेरेंट्स को देखें, अपने संस्कारों को देखें, अपनी वैल्यूज को देखें, और उसके बेस पर अगर हम डिसीजन लेते हैं तो हमारा डिसीजन कभी गलत नहीं होगा। ये मेरा अपना फेथ है। तो और अगर आउटलाइन चाहिए तो मैं कह सकता हूं कि डिसीजन लेते समय नॉन वायलेंस को सेंटर में रखें, कंपैशन को सेंटर में रखें। मेरा फूड वेजिटेरियन है, वो मेरा नॉन वायलेंस धर्म मुझे सिखाता है, उसको सेंटर में रखें। अपने इंटेंशन और इमोशन को प्योर रखें। तो ये कुछ बातें ध्यान में रखकर, इंग्रेडिएंट्स को ध्यान में रखकर हम डिसीजन लेते हैं, डेफिनेटली हमारा डिसीजन हमको अच्छी दिशा में ले जाएगा।
Shall I, Muska?
Yeah.
Yes, please.
Divya and Pranay, first and foremost, a big salute to you for doing a good job. Thank you. And you know, you said that it was challenging, but let me tell you, I come from a family where my of course, Ritika left out one member of my family who is also was in the Air Force, and now she's retired. That's my daughter-in-law. She was a helicopter pilot and who did a lot of search and rescue in the Himalayas, and she was in the uniform. And before she joined the Air Force, she was a computer engineer, whatever you call it, IT engineer. She's an engineer, and now she's an MBA. So it doesn't, you know, the thing is, whatever you do, you love what you do. That's the most important thing. If you didn't love it before, well, it's not very difficult to, you know, start loving it after you start doing, actually. And the basis of love is to believe in it. And let me assure you that once you come out of this, and when you look back after 15 years, you will find that your national service, the discipline with which you did it, the way in which you did it makes you stand apart. And you're the only beneficiary of it. You cannot, neither Singapore nor the country know. It is ultimately you have fine-tuned your mind to a different level ultimately. And 40 years I have lived in the Air Force, life in Air Force bases. I see, you know, at 17 years, you joined the academy, and then you come out as a man. You went in as a child and you come out as a man. And when you're in a group of your own peers who are, I mean, in Singapore, maybe everybody goes through it, but I can tell you about India, where the person who has gone through the academy meets his friends in the colleges, you can see the level of maturity of mind is so different. And the thing is, the intention is purer, I feel. I mean, like when you go into a war, your intention is not you don't have an enmity against an individual. like Samanji said, you are going to protect your motherland. And there are 4 mothers in this world. One is the mother who gave birth to you. 2 is your motherland. 3 is Mother Earth. And 4th is the mother tongue. Wherever you are in this world, if you think of these 4 mothers, your determination, your shraddha will be so good that you will start loving what you do. After all, you love your mother, isn't it? So you start loving your motherland. And this is what will direct you towards whatever you do. And this is not only for army, it's for every human being. Like if I'm a doctor, I think that I have to do this. And when I'm doing a doctor's work, I think I'm doing it for my motherland. If I'm collecting garbage on the streets, I'm doing it for my country. And this is the intention is what gives you the strength. And even in the army, the Jain principles apply very correctly. Your intention is not enmity towards, you see, even in Pakistan, Abhinandan went and appreciated their tea. And he also said, I will go on record that the Pakistan army treated me well. That means it is not individual to individual. If the government makes a decision to protect your country, I am protecting my country, that is, you will keep that at that level. And thereafter, everybody is doing their job. The Pakistan army is doing its job. It's working for its motherland, and he is working for his motherland. So that it didn't stop him from appreciating what they did right, actually. So this kind of thought process, that kind of intention, if you have, I think you can get through any kind of challenging frame thing. And that would be the, like Samanji said, it's the values. If your value is right, then you build on those values, and the value is your guiding principle. Like, I did a HIV campaign in 2000 when HIV AIDS disease was very, very, very rampant in India. And in the Millennium Campaign, and one of them was for the youngsters. When those days, the youngsters used to go out of town, the work was opening out. They were traveling a lot to work and things like that. And they were living life because of the newfound freedom in a different manner. And so we did one for them saying that, remember, when you are going into some place where the peer pressure is so much, and just pause for a second to think of the values that your parents have told you. I will tell you one of my personal example. In 1975, I finished my graduation, and you can imagine this is the last century. And my parents were very keen that I should get my post-graduation from a Western training, actually. And I was working towards it, and my father passed away at that time. And then in 76, I got a invitation to work in a hospital in UK. So I asked my mother, are you okay with it? She said, Nai, you work for it, and your father was very keen on it, you go. I said, but then everybody in this, even the boys were always, they got him married and then sent them. They didn't send him alone. So I said, but are you okay to send me alone? She said, I brought you up with some values, and I'm sure you will follow those values. I have confidence in that. And she said, go ahead. I went, I worked for my post-graduation. I stayed there for 5 years. And I got back and got married to the boy she chose. And I was so thankful that my mother had confidence in me. She said, I have brought you up with values, and I know you will follow those values. And those are the values that stood me. Like, it may have lost me peer, the peer pressures were very much over there. And you're in those days in 70s, an Indian girl straight from a traditional family being planted in UK is a difficult thing. But what gave the strength was this. And always at the back of the mind, will my parents approve of it? Or am I doing the right things? Is this what I was taught? That is the guiding principle that will carry you through life, all through your life, till the day you reach your maker.
Thank you, Subhaji. I think you directly pointed the guidelines in the correct framework. Thank you so much for sharing it. We have Hemant Surana, who is going to be in NS next year. So he has some questions from Divya and Pranay. So Hemant, just quickly ask your questions, please.
Jai Jinendra, everyone. I just would like to ask, Samanji earlier mentioned about how there's different about Hinsa and how to protect our country we have to it is compulsory and necessary to do it. But apart from the conflicts between Jain values and army values, what are some things that in the army that you guys have learned that help you practice those Jain values that you have learned earlier, which are in collaboration with the Jain values that you have already learned? Thank you.
Yeah, actually, sorry.
Nick, please go ahead.
Yeah, so आर्मी में और ये ट्रेनिंग में जब जाना होता है तो जैन वैल्यू को कैसे साथ में रखकर हम इसकी प्रैक्टिस कर सकते हैं. तो एक्चुअली खास करके हमें ये ध्यान रखना चाहिए कि हमारी जो जैन धर्म की आस्थाएं हैं, निष्ठाएं हैं, उसको हम अपने साथ संजो के रखें. स्पेशली अपना इंटेंशन प्योर रखे, अपना कंपेशन ऑलवेज अपने अंदर रखे, और डिसिप्लिन खास करके थोड़ा कंफर्ट जोन से बाहर निकलकर एक हार्ड वर्क करने की आदत डालकर एक डिसिप्लिन लाकर हम इसके साथ में अगर हम जाते हैं ट्रेनिंग में, आर्मी ट्रेनिंग में, तो कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं है. और जैन धर्म का अहिंसा और हिंसा के बारे में बहुत क्लियर कट कॉन्सेप्ट है जो मैंने अर्लियर मेंशन किया कि हमारा इंटेंशन प्योर रखे. हम आरंभ जा हिंसा, युद्धोग जा हिंसा, विरोध जा हिंसा अगर करनी पड़े तो कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं है, लेकिन संकल्प यानी मेंटल थॉट और इंटेंशन हम बहुत प्योर रखें, एक दूसरे के प्रति रिस्पेक्ट रखें. जैसे अभी मेंशन किया शोभा जी ने कि अभिनंदन जी जब वापिस आए इंडिया, जब पाकिस्तान, वो कहा कि पाकिस्तान वालों ने मेरे साथ बहुत अच्छी तरह ट्रीट किया. ये कितनी बड़ी बात है. एक तो ये एक्सेप्ट करना, दूसरे विरोधी कंट्री की अच्छी बात को एक्सेप्ट करना, और विरोधी कंट्री की कितनी बड़ी बात है कि उसने ऐसे अपने आर्मी मैन के साथ में एक नाइसली ट्रीट किया. तो ये भी हम एक दूसरे के साथ में सीख सकते हैं. तो मैं इतना ही कहूंगा समय की मर्यादा को ध्यान में रखते हुए कि अपनी वैल्यूज और अपने माँ बाप की वैल्यूज, अपने धर्म की वैल्यूज को हम रखकर कहीं भी जाते हैं, कोई भी, चाहे वो आर्मी ट्रेनिंग हो, चाहे वो ट्रैवलिंग हो, चाहे वो कहीं भी डिफिकल्ट सिचुएशन में जाए, इसको मेंटेन रखकर करे, कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं है. क्योंकि गांधी जी ने, अगर हमको याद करना चाहिए महात्मा गांधी को, महात्मा गांधी जी ने पॉलिटिक्स में किस तरह से अहिंसा को इन्वॉल्व किया और अहिंसा के जरिए उन्होंने किस तरह से देश को फ्रीडम दिलवाई, कितना उसके अंदर कंपेशन था, कितना उसके अंदर नॉन वायलेंस के प्रति फेथ था, कितना उसके अंदर अपने नेशन के प्रति निष्ठा थी, तभी जाकर उसने कर पाया. तो thank you, Ritika and Muskan. You are leading, such a nice program today. Because you are the youth, and Rakesh Ji Mehta said that we need youth for the future generation. So thank you so much. Jai Jinendra.
Thank you, Samanji, once again. We're running short on time, and we have a lot of questions from the audience, which we will address right at the end. But with this last question, we would like to conclude this fireside chat. Once again, we would like to thank Dr. Shobhaji, Samanji, Divya, Pranay for sharing your valuable time and your experiences with us. I know I learned a lot, and I'm sure the audience will agree as well. But without further ado, I would like to invite Manishji and the rest of the BJM Executive Committee to launch the...
I think she's not...
Okay, I can ask her question on behalf of her. So she had a question about the end of life care. She said many palliative patients are suffering towards the end of their life because of disease complications. What is the view that Jainism has on medically ending their life, for example, by taking them off life support or by giving them drugs to quicken death to reduce their suffering?
Yeah, बहुत critical question है.
Yeah, she serves in the hospital patients as a nurse, so she's taking a nursing degree, so she had a question from that angle.
Yeah, तो actually जैन धर्म का बिलीव ये है कि पहली बात तो ये कि लाइफ सपोर्ट पर अगर कोई आदमी एजेड है, उम्र उसकी हो गई है, तो उसको लाइफ सपोर्ट पर डालने के पहले ही परिवार वाले को सोचना चाहिए, क्योंकि अगर एक बार लाइफ सपोर्ट पर डाल दिया फिर उसको हटाते हैं तो फैमिली में बहुत सारे इश्यूज खड़े होते हैं कि इनके कारण ऐसा हुआ, इनके कारण ऐसा हुआ. तो पहले ही जो लोग एजेड है या वो अपने विल में लिख के जाए कि प्लीज डोंट पुट मी ऑन द आर्टिफिशियल सपोर्ट. तो ये अपने विल में लिख दे ताकि उनको जब वो अंतिम क्रिटिकल स्थिति हो तो उस पर डालना, वो आर्टिफिशियल सपोर्ट पर उसको न डाले. ये पहली बात है. दूसरी बात है कि हम उसको पिल्स देकर या दवा देकर, गोली देकर उसकी लाइफ को एंड करते. जैनिज्म इसको अलाउ नहीं करता है, वो प्योरली सुसाइड है. हाँ, कुछ कंट्री में ऐसा अलाउ है, वो पॉलिटिकली अलाउ है, मुझे अभी याद नहीं आ रहा है, लेकिन कुछ कंट्री में. लेकिन जैनिज्म उसके लिए टोटली अगेंस्ट है, ये सुसाइड है और इस तरह से लाइफ को एंड नहीं करना चाहिए. जैनिज्म कहता है कि लाइफ सपोर्ट हटा ले पूरे परिवार की एग्रीमेंट के साथ में, और अगर उसका लाइफ स्पैन है, अभी भी उसका आयुष्य है, तो उतने समय तक वो जिएगा. और जैनिज्म कहता है कि ऐसी स्थिति में उनको समाधि मरण संथारे के लिए तैयार किया जाए, उसको कन्विंस किया जाए अगर वो कॉन्शियस है तो, कि वो आहार छोड़ दे धीरे धीरे. पीसफुल, जिसको हम कॉन्शियस डेथ कहते हैं, पीसफुल डेथ कहते हैं, अवेयरनेस डेथ कहते हैं, वो स्थिति में अगर वो अपने शरीर को छोड़ते हैं तो ये जैनिज्म उसके लिए अलाउ करता है. तो समाधि मरण, संथारा, ये सुसाइड नहीं है, क्योंकि वो ऑन द स्पॉट नहीं होता है, वो डिक्लेयर किया हुआ है और धीरे धीरे ग्रेजुअली वो बॉडी को छोड़ता है. सुसाइड में आदमी एकदम आवेश में आके, गुस्से में आके रॉन्ग डिसीजन लेके शरीर को छोड़ता है, उसका प्लेस नक्की नहीं होता है, टाइम निश्चित नहीं होता है, तो वो सुसाइड है. तो समाधि मरण जैनिज्म को अलाउ है, वो भी ओल्ड एज में, जब शरीर से कुछ नहीं होता है तो देह छोड़ सकते हैं. लेकिन अभी जो कंडीशन है तो लाइफ के वो परिवार के सभी मेंबर की सहमति लेकर लाइफ सपोर्ट हटा लिया जाए और जो भी उनका आयुष्य होगा उतने समय तक वो जिएगा, बाकी परिवार उसको एक्सेप्ट कर ले. तो ये उसका समाधान.
थैंक यू समन जी. एक और क्वेश्चन है उर्मिला जी से. she's not in the, I think she's not here anymore in this call, but a quick question again. She asked, what are the core 3 most important values we should embed in my kids? Her kids are 6 years old and 10 years old, for their character building, which will be helpful for them for their demanding future and for uncertainties.
3 principle is simple. Jainism say this is the 3N in English or 3A in our traditional language. 3A means non-violence. Second A is non-possessiveness. And third A is non-absolutism. The anekantvad, the multiple, respect the view of multiple way. So अहिंसा, अनेकांत and अपरिग्रह, अगर ये तीन वैल्यू हम अपने किड्स में, अपने बच्चों में अगर डाल देते हैं और फिर वो कहीं भी जाए, लाइफ में कोई भी सिचुएशन है, प्रॉब्लम नहीं होगा. अगेन अहिंसा, अपरिग्रह, अनेकांत, नॉन वायलेंस, नॉन पॉसेसिवनेस, नॉन एब्सोल्यूटिज्म.
Rakesh ji, okay, so I think Muskan, I mean, I know you have many more questions, but we are running almost half an hour late, and I know guests have to leave. So again, thank you very much, everyone.
विकास जी मांगलिक एक बार जब एंड हो उसके पहले एक बार हो सके तो मंगल मंत्र, मंगल पाठ कर लेते हैं.
हाँ जी बिल्कुल बिल्कुल. लेकिन मैं जस्ट उसके पहले एक बार मैं राकेश जी को yes to leave. So Rakesh ji, if you have your final comments, and then maybe you can take your leave, please. You're on mute, Rakesh ji. आप mute में.
I think it was a wonderful session. Thank you very much. Your land well is very well articulated and launched today. I think this will give huge benefit to Indians who are coming to Singapore for study. I think every year many students comes to Singapore. I really appreciate the talk of and fire chat organized by Shreya and Muskan and the Sobaji and Samniji, the way in which Swamiji replied each and every question. I think it's a huge takeaway for all of us. I like 2-3 things. Don't get negative command in the morning and don't give negative command in the night. I think your whole perspective will change of your life. And I like Sobaji. I missed one mother, motherland, mother earth, mother tongue. What is fourth mother? I could not actually took that. So I would like to know which one is the fourth mother. And then the best is mother feel proud when the son has achieved the heights. And the second, it's a pain bigger than the delivery pain. Oh my God, this is the wonderful thing you have really given here. So, and the best is value is your guiding force. No one else is the guiding force. If your values are intact, then really that's a guiding force for the family, for the community, for the entire nation. So you please keep intact your values. Everything will be automatically, it will be guiding force for you. Thanks Manish bhai, thanks Singapore team, Ritika, Shreyans, Manojji, everybody. I think wonderful program. Keep it on and keep doing good thing. People will remember you only for good thing, not for your money and not for anything else. Whatever you'll give to the society, that will be the remembrance. Rest all people will forgive. Thank you very much. Thanks.
Thank you. Shreyans.
What a mesmerizing session it has been. And BJM is so thankful to Samanji for not only joining us from a time zone which is 13 hours behind Singapore, but also guiding us on such pertinent issues in simplest way, as usual. Kritagyosmi Samanji, and very special thanks to Shobhaji for your time and presenting your inspiring life, very much like your family. Clear thoughts, strong character, yet so much humble. You are an inspiration. Thank you to you too. Divya and Pranay, thank you. We all look up to youth like you to become role model for our society, our nation. Thanks BJM leadership, Rakesh ji, Madan ji, Sanjay bhai, and other seniors for continued patronage. Thanks to our energetic team, Manish ji, Ritika, Manish, Samil, Nayan, Shweta, and Muskan, working tirelessly on not only events, but continuously thinking on how to serve our Jain community and bring it together. और सबसे ज़्यादा मैं धन्यवाद करना चाहूँगा आप सबका, हमारे जैन समाज का. न सिर्फ आप हमारे एफर्ट्स में पार्टिसिपेट करते हैं, बल्कि दिल से प्रोत्साहन देते हैं. हमारे छोटे छोटे प्रयास में आपका ऐसा ही सपोर्ट और आशीर्वाद मिलता रहे. लैंडवेल जैसे प्रोजेक्ट से आपको जरूर जुड़ना है और जैन समाज की सेवा करें. जैसे शोभा जी मेंशन्ड, यू मे नॉट हैव डन इट येट, बट मे लव इट आफ्टर यू स्टार्ट डूइंग इट. So ऐसी कामना के साथ सादर जय जिनेंद्र And once again, thank you very much. Take good care and stay safe.
एक
Thank
बार
you.
मंगल पाठ।
मंगल पाठ कर लेते हैं।
जी, खास करके थैंक यू मनीष जी, आपने मुझे याद किया थ्रू भारत जन महामंडल और मैं उपस्थित रह पाया। और आप वर्षों से परिचित है, काफी प्रोग्राम इंडिया में आपके साथ किए हैं। मैं आप सिंगापुर वाले को एक जरा गुड न्यूज दे दूं कि इस बार मेरा पर्यूषण सिंगापुर में है। तो या तो अगर स्थिति अनुकूल होगी तो फिजिकली आऊंगा या फिर वर्चुअली। मेरा पर्यूषण सिंगापुर जैन समाज में है, अधिक से अधिक लोग लाभ लें। मैं शिकागो आज ही पहुंचा हूँ। अभी यहाँ आइमबिल की होली अभी 19 तारीख से शुरू हो रही है, उसके लिए आया हूँ। 2 महीना करीब 2 महीने की मेरी ट्रिप है अमेरिका की, और यहाँ पर शिकागो में रह के सब वर्चुअली यह कार्यक्रम होगा। जैन धर्म की प्रभावना जितनी हो सकेगी हम करने का प्रयत्न करेंगे। थैंक यू जॉइनिंग दिस प्रोग्राम एंड खास करके एक अच्छा प्लेटफॉर्म दिया। शोभा बहन को पहली बार मिलने का मौका मिला, सो थैंक यू स्पेशली भारत जन महामंडल एंड मनीष जी। मांगलिक मंगल मंत्र सब सुनेंगे हाथ जोड़कर एकाग्रता से करबद्ध होकर। नमो अरिहंताणम, नमो सिद्धाणम, नमो आयरियाणम, नमो वज्जायाणम, नमो लोये सव्व साहुणम, एसो पंचन मुक्कारो सव्व पाव प्रणासनो मंगलाणंच सर्वेसिं पढ़मम हवै मंगलम। श्री श्री चत्तारी मंगलम, अरिहंता मंगलम, सिद्धा मंगलम, साहु मंगलम, केवली पन्नत्तो धम्मो मंगलम। चत्तारी लोगुत्तमा, अरिहंता लोगुत्तमा, सिद्धा लोगुत्तमा, साहु लोगुत्तमा, केवली पन्नत्तो धम्मो लोगुत्तमा। चत्तारी शरणं प्रवज्जामि, अरिहंते शरणं प्रवज्जामि, सिद्धे शरणं प्रवज्जामि, साहु शरणं प्रवज्जामि, केवली पन्नत्तं धम्मं शरणं प्रवज्जामि। सर्वमांगल मांगल्यम सर्वकल्याण कारणम प्रधानम सर्वधर्माणां जैनम जयति शासनम, जैनम जयति शासनम।
सभी को महावीर जयंती की अग्रिम शुभकामनाएं। अगले वीकेंड पर हम महावीर जयंती मनाएंगे, तो सबको बहुत बहुत बधाइयां उसकी। थैंक यू।
थैंक यू वेरी मच।
जय जिनेंद्र।
शोभा बहन संपर्क में रहिएगा।
शोभा जी, शोभा जी थैंक यू वेरी
हमारा
मच। थैंक यू वेरी मच शोभा जी। हम भी आपसे संपर्क में रहना चाहेंगे और कुछ सीखना चाहेंगे। थैंक यू वेरी मच।
थैंक यू
एवरीवन। थैंक यू सो मच।
कमन जी, ये हमारा ऑनर है। थैंक यू वेरी मच।
जी जी जी, थैंक यू थैंक यू।
Shall we end the call?
No.
Yeah.